My
You
heart.
know, I'm bad because my assistant manager is probably going to get fired over some
What?
shit that he didn't do. Yeah, and over some shit that he didn't do.
Is this at McDonald's or?
I don't work at McDonald's.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, I don't work at McDonald's.
Wendy's?
No, I don't work
Carl's
in fast food.
Oh, sweet. That's
at the
good.
mall,
I do work at the mall.
and you're a stalker at Toys R Us.
I was. I don't work at Toys R Us anymore.
Who did you stalk at Toys R Us?
Barbies.
Fuck you, Chris.
Said who, not what.
There's video evidence.
I know. Yeah, that was my aisle. I did do the Barbie aisle. I did the boys aisle too.
Look how jealous Alex Greco is. He's like, you stalked Barbies and got paid for it?
Reevaluating my life.
Oh, we lost Joe already?
Oh, he'll be back.
Good God. Yeah. In and out. In and out. So, this is sort of impromptu. We were kind of discussing what's been going on lately. I know there's been some videos that have come out. I'm going to be glad to leave some links to them in the channel here. But I think what we're really discussing here is how deep the web really goes in the how deep the spider that is David Lee Chu Sarche has weaved this web. How far along do we think that it might have drifted? And I'm happy to see gnarwarrior and Alex joining me, and my friend Elijah Lees, who's sort of ignorant of what's been going on, and we're glad to see Joe back joining us.
Yep. Sorry
How you
about
doing,
that.
Joe? No trouble, no trouble. I think we're used to it by now. Yeah, internet issues sometimes.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, no trouble. Cool. So I've just kind of finished viewing some of what's been going on here, and I don't know. I'm awful surprised at how clear the evidence is now that it seems like all these accounts that we've been interacting with have been sock accounts, Joe. I kind of feel a little bit weird about that, don't you? Like,
Okay, so here's I had a conversation with David that night. I don't know about all the profiles. The profiles I will speak on that I can say and that I've told him that I think are fake are Terrell Capel, Tanisha Capel, and Jasmine McVeigh. I have suspicions about Violet, and it is pretty damning evidence, but at the same time, David wrote a pretty lengthy response to how it might appear on his timeline, and I don't really know how timelines work that well. I don't get on Facebook that much. So.
well, that was my problem too, right? Like I was kind of asking around about that. I'm not really clear about how timelines work with that either. But at the same time, like all this stuff is getting to be it's even if those ones that you suspected might be or definitely David. I mean, all of them have been like talking to us, right? I mean, doesn't that seem strange, man? Like, I just I'm wondering about the motivation, right? Like, is it about creating this this group of people to support him, or you guys in your conversations? I mean,
if they were created to support me in any way, I mean, I wouldn't have wanted that. If in fact like they are fake profiles, I mean that would be a pretty plausible reason to create them, but I just don't know.
Just for the sake of myself and people like me, what exactly are these people supposed to be defending him in? I don't even know what the thesis is here that he's going for.
Any of the arguments that he gets into.
Well, I know
He
I
gets
don't.
into a lot of arguments.
So, I mean, is there like a central theme of these arguments? I mean, what exactly are these people talking about? I guess is what I want to know. 'Cause I have no idea.
Usually religion, racism, and politics.
right, for the few months that I've had David as a friend on Facebook, I've seen a lot of his posts, and I mean he's constantly posting very controversial opinions, basically. Like, I mean, he goes out on some pretty far limbs, and I think he expects a little bit of backlash. But I mean, the thing is that he gets so much support from his sock accounts that, I mean, it does seem like it's a little easier for him to just put out these crazy opinions, right? Like,
I would guess. I mean, I don't. I would guess that if they were sock accounts, that would be a motivation for it. I mean, some of them I'm pretty convinced are, but some of them I'm not so convinced. I mean, again, I don't really know how timelines work that well. So,
But
I
what
mean,
about the weight of the circumstantial evidence, right? Like, one piece of circumstantial evidence you can dismiss, but when you just have piles and piles, like, at a certain point it just becomes obvious, right? Like either it's Dave or it's you or it's both of you, and I really want to believe in you, Joe.
I would never have nothing to do. I would never have nothing to do.
I think it's just Dave, but I mean, if the same thing happened to me, like, I would be really upset, and I would unfriend all these sock accounts and warn all my legitimate friends that they're getting catfished by a troll, and you don't seem to be doing that, which concerns me.
And I try to make sure that none of my sock accounts interact with Chris,
Yeah.
because I know how he feels about that kind of stuff.
And not only, like, I didn't just do this because I'm a troll either. Part of the reason I did it is because I was worried about you, Joe, and I feel like, either somebody is conning you or you're implicit, and I wanted to think that someone was conning you. I think I was just talking to his mom for a sec there.
Yeah. Sorry
Did you hear
about
me?
that.
Did you hear what I said?
I didn't hear all of it. I need you to repeat like the last 2 or 3 sentences.
So saying, like, I didn't just do this just to be a troll. One of my main motivations was that I thought that somebody was conning you, and but the way you're responding to it is making me think that maybe you were in on it. I don't know, but I want to think you weren't.
I wasn't, but you have to think about it from my perspective. If those accounts are really fake people, David's got some issues, and I mean, I really don't want to bastardize him in front of the World Wide Web. If think about it, you already have to have some issues. If they were stock accounts, he's already have to have some issues to set up that many people, or to set up any of them. To bastardize him in front of the World Wide Web isn't going to do anything, but maybe make him go off the deep end and do something to hurt himself or hurt somebody else or something like that. That's why I wouldn't call him out in public like that.
Do we get the impression that he's just because, like I said, I don't know anything about this, is that he could just be trolling everybody, or is he is using these accounts to defend something that he seems to hold very, very dear, and therefore, yeah, he would be kind of fucked up.
Or he could just be bored.
Yeah, Joe. I'm curious about that. I mean, do you really feel like Dave's like a danger to himself if like we were to like push too hard on this? Like I'm being like really serious before we go any further on this. Like,
I will say that I can't exactly say what, but there is a history of mental illness in his family, and I know David's had a couple bouts with depression, and that's why I'm a little softer on him than I would be on anybody else, is because I know that everybody's got some kind of problem, but I think David, if you push him too far, I don't know, man. I think he's got the ability to freak the fuck out.
Right. But I think
I love the hell out of I love the hell out of the dude, man. Like, we're really good friends and stuff, and I don't want nothing to happen to him. So, no.
Right. But I mean, this is the thing: is like these accounts, if they are controlled by him and he's operating them under false pretenses, the people that he's operating them with they have a right to know what the idea is. I mean, who's behind it, right? I mean, I'm not saying that he's in the wrong for doing it, but I'm saying that if these accounts are fraudulent and he's using them in a dishonest way. I mean, isn't it okay to shed light on it? I mean, how could we be hurting him in that case, right? Like,
Well, just by embarrassment is what I'm saying.
okay, but I mean, at some point, right? I mean, he knows that to operate a false account, right, is like against the terms of service as far as Facebook is concerned, right? I mean,
Yeah, he knows.
so I mean, at some point, he's realizing that the jig is going to be up at a point, right?
Well, the bottom line is that this is the World Wide Web that he's doing this on, right? He's already sort of made his bed by doing it, if that's what he's doing, and so calling him out on it. I don't blame you for not wanting to, but for the rest of us, yeah, he should kind of be called out on the same platform that he's doing it on.
No.
Yeah, like I think broadcasting it here is the most appropriate, right? I mean, I think in a way we can minimize the damage by making sure that we're actively broadcasting the real message behind it, right? So I mean, okay, so let's move on past that. I mean, if let's say that David is going to freak out, I mean, these accounts will just disappear, right? I mean, is that what's going to happen, or are we gonna just see him kind of just block us all and just try to move on to the next group? It seems to me that like the problem with a catfish is that the internet is a very large place and they can just weasel their way into any group afterwards, right? Does anybody want to weigh in on that? I don't really know.
Out of curiosity, has everybody seen catfish? Just
I haven't. No, I didn't even know what the term meant. So
I've only seen the show, not the documentary.
there's a show?
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a TV show now.
they're on their second or third season.
So
It's starting
wait,
to get pretty fake now, though.
again, is this something he's doing in a Facebook group or just on his profile page or what?
His
Facebook
profile
and
page
Google Plus.
alters for pages to each other.
Are there other people besides the people in this room who are being impacted by it? I mean, does he have a large audience, I guess is my question.
I would say
Right,
no.
Impacted is a very, very loose term with me specifically. I'm not necessarily impacted.
I just didn't know if anybody else was paying any attention to this guy or if it was just you guys.
The way it impacted me was that, initially it became really suspicious that these people would pop into Dave's conversations to support him, and then when I would click on them, you would see like the typical mold is the account is less than 2 years old, but not always, and then it's the person is extremely interested in racism, politics, and religion, but they all take have different alter egos. And then when you search the pictures, they all come back to different places. Like his brother apparently is a homosexual bodybuilder, and his brother from another mother's sister was a man, and because she's a transsexual transsexual prostitute, and her picture is. And just like I said before, it's the weight of circumstantial evidence added up. And
Let me ask it another way. Does anyone actually give a shit about David besides the people in this chat and his sock accounts?
I don't know what I was slowly getting to. What I was slowly getting to was that the thing that really compelled me was that that I think Joe's a really good guy, and I didn't know if Joe was the victim of this situation or if he was a co-conspirator, and I really wanted to talk to him first, so I kind of sat on all this information for almost a month because I wanted to find out kind of what he knew, and to be quite frank, based on his reaction, I feel like he knew a lot.
Yeah, I only asked because I didn't know if he was using this and using his fake supporters to sort of fuck with other people or a large group of people, or if it was just... That's why I asked if it was in a group or just on his Facebook page or something like that.
I mean, he wasn't fooling the world, that's for sure. But he's no criminal mastermind,
Sure, yeah.
no evil genius.
I just wasn't sure if anybody was taking him seriously, I guess.
I mean, it's hard to say, right? Like, some of the stock accounts do have a little bit of a following, and there is some interaction, right? But I mean, most of them are very dedicated to following David's exploits online. I mean, it's really hard to tell, right? And I think Joe's right in that. But I don't I don't necessarily I don't necessarily understand the why it seems like we're the one breaking this to you, right, Joe? Like, it seems like if you and Dave are good friends, like he would have let you in on at least one of them or two of them, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't. I mean, he never personally came out to me and was like, "Hey, so and so is fake" or nothing like that. I mean, I have my suspicions on certain accounts, but that's just because, like, when I asked him the other day, he got really defensive. I asked him, about some of the accounts, and he said, "Oh, well, why do you suspect that?" And after, like, what kind of clued me in on some of them is because if you notice, like, I'm convinced that some of them are him. And if you notice, because of how they talk or how they like I can try to disguise myself in an email, but anyone who knows me is going to know that it's going to be me because of my pattern of how I talk, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah,
know what you're
I know.
saying.
Like
We know
I know
exactly
how
what
to
you're
tell
saying.
how
that
I
it's him. Because he ends sentences.
was that?
He ends sentences with though.
Or either.
Yeah. Or like
Or either.
if John had a whole bunch of stock accounts that never used capital letters, right?
It would be
Yeah.
pretty obvious, yeah, because I have a hard time using capitals.
But yeah, go on, Joe. I've already identified some of his patterns of speech that are dead giveaways.
Yeah, no, I told him that the other day, and he got really defensive about it. So I mean,
Yeah,
well,
I,
well,
and I mean, I kind of understand, Joe. Like, I mean, it would be kind of hard to bring it up, but I mean, at the same time, man, you did kind of actively, in the long run, I mean, you were actively helping Dave to cover up this mess, right? By poisoning the well before we could drop any news, right? I mean, your channel still has up a video entitled that me and Chris are liars, so I'm not. I mean, I'm having a little harder time now figuring out exactly where you justify defending Dave or actively working to apologize for Dave beforehand, right? Like, do you see that
um,
how we kind of viewed it that way? Like, I mean, we see you and we see that you must have suspicions, but
well,
at the same time,
the reason
you're
why I have that the reason why I have that video up is because that night I was legitimately trying to connect into the conversation, and you guys were pretty much saying that I was running from you guys, and I've never ran from you guys once in any conversation, so I don't understand why you guys would think that for that one.
Chris
But
probably gets the wrong link.
but did we think that, or did we state that it was factually true while we possessed evidence to the contrary?
I think we went over this the other night, Chris, but I'm going to tell you again. You said to me that I was on my Facebook that I was afraid to come on and talk. You flat out said it, man. Like, that's why to this day I still say that you're lying about it, because you know what you said to me on Facebook, dude. And I legitimately tried to connect. I even showed you a screenshot of the message I was getting on my screen that wasn't allowing me to connect. So that's. I mean, it's possible it's a misunderstanding, but like, you look like
right.
from my point of view,
See, that's
and from my point of view and the way I'm perceiving things, it looks like you're lying, and it looks like you're knowingly lying. Or
right.
But
And from
my
our point of view,
opinion
it
is
looked like you were
wrong. It
running.
doesn't mean,
So
yeah, if my opinion is wrong, it doesn't mean I'm lying. It means I'm wrong.
no, dude, I'm saying that because you know that I'm not afraid to come on and talk to you guys. And for you to even imply that makes it a lie, because you know that I'm not afraid to.
Well, then how
Well,
come you
we know
chickened out the other night?
we know you're not always afraid, Joe. But I think, yeah, I mean,
I'm never afraid to talk to you guys. I'll welcome it.
yeah, no, exactly. This is the thing, Joe. It's like it's just there was sort of like a little bit of drama going on, and we had a lot of questions that were that we sort of were hoping to get answered, right? And I think that's why we were pushing so hard. And it did seem like you were hesitant to talk to us, man. That's the long and the short of it.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, sure, man. But like that, I mean, that's the thing. Is like we may have been wrong about it, but it's sort of weird to right away. I mean, you need to call us liars on your channel, right? I mean, is that a plan to poison the well so that any news that we put out about Dave would be disbelieved by
Oh,
your
no.
subscribers?
Oh.
Or
No. Like if Dave,
it's just right before we got blocked, me and Chris saw a lot of like that exact course being echoed all through Dave's posts and subscribership. Was that there were two stalker liars who were coming after him, and that everybody on his list needed to block us. So it just seemed like it was part of a concerted effort. Did you receive some sort of message from Dave to put up a video named that, or?
Oh no, that was all me.
Okay, it was all your idea. All right, okay, no trouble. I get it, man. Like, if you were feeling slighted by it, I mean that's one thing, and I can understand, like, hyperbolic language or whatever. I'm not too hurt about it. I admit initially I was a little bit stung by the implication, but in the long run I understand that reaction and that sort of language, man.
I mean, you could have made a video that said Chris and John are wrong about me.
Because I don't think that. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
It's okay. I do it all the time. I was just gonna say that I mean, John maybe was a little stung by it, but I wasn't. You can make accusations about me all day. It won't faze me. I know what I am and what I'm not. It's all good. But John definitely doesn't deserve to be called a liar.
Yeah, I mean, I do endeavor to be pretty honest with you, Joe, and I hope that comes through. I mean, we weren't trying to misrepresent you, only to encourage you, right? I mean, there's sort of I don't know. It's like an imperative for us to act, right? When we see that there could be active harm being caused, or we're worried about someone that we care about, right? So this is what motivates us, right? I mean, we're sort of trying to intervene a little bit, and I hope you don't take that the wrong way.
No, I don't take it the wrong way. I just feel like the reason why I made such a strong statement saying that you guys were lying is because of this. I mean, most of the time, unless I'm busy, I've been available for hangouts. I've talked to you guys. I think there's even been times, if you go back to when we were talking, where like we would, be talking about stuff, and you guys would prove that my idea wasn't logical, and I would concede a point. I mean, if I'm ever, I don't think there's ever been one time that I've ever been like I'm not cowering in fear. Like, John and Chris are calling me. I'm scared because I know that I can't handle them. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm not afraid to be wrong, and I'm not afraid to talk to you guys.
What about a couple nights ago?
What about what?
When you were scared to talk to us, when you had you had the one night phone glitch that magically cured itself.
Yeah, fuck you. You know what happened.
Oh, ho, ho. Okay. Yeah, I know what happened. All right.
Yeah.
You can understand why your Facebook wasn't Googling. Good story, bro.
Okay, dude. Like, you seriously can't still be on that point, are you? You really can't be on that, because I think I explained that.
I'm pretty sure that was a topic, but I'm ready to move on. Like, here's what I'm wondering is...
I'm pretty sure that... Hold on. I'm pretty sure that you sent me the link on Facebook, and I had to go on Facebook to get it.
We sent it to you on Google Plus too. And there's also this new thing that they made called copy-paste.
I'm doing this from my phone, dude. So I don't know how to do that.
Well, you just hold it down for a second, man.
I didn't know that.
Okay,
So.
well, I know it's brand new, so. But here's my question. So, like, I don't understand why, once you're presented with the weight of circumstantial evidence, that you didn't unfriend any of these sock accounts, you didn't warn your pastor that he's friends with all these sock accounts. Your pastor's son, half of his friends are Dave. Like, how come you're not taking any kind of action whatsoever?
Because I don't want to push David over the edge.
But it's reality, dude. Like, if he's delusional, the worst thing we could do is play along with his delusion. Like, if he needs a doctor, we should get him a doctor. But if we're not part of the solution, we're part of the problem. I just don't believe that the right thing to do with a delusional person is to, feed their delusions.
Can I tell you guys something? And David's probably gonna get really pissed at me. He's probably gonna be really pissed at me for revealing this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I know David is, once you push him over the edge, he could be a danger to himself. I remember a couple years ago, me and him were and talking on the phone, and something happened with some girl that he was with, and he hung up the phone on me, and he said something to the effect of, it would be the last time I ever talked to him. And so we got in the car. I knew where he lived at, so we went down to go to his house, and out of the corner of my eye, I seen him going to the gas station. So me and my friend Sammy and her daughter pulled around and went into the gas station, and David was taking bottles of ibuprofen and any kind of medication that he could, and he was stuffing them in his pocket to get ready to take them and go home and try to overdose on painkillers. So that's,
Well, I mean, Joe, I mean it's a heart-wrenching story. And I'm saying I'm sympathetic if it's true, man. I mean, I've had my bouts with depression and suicide also, but the important thing is that there's friends around him to not pad the delusion that's sort of left him, at where he is, right? I mean, he can't think that that's the answer to the situation, right? I mean, at what point would you think that that was a good idea, right? This is where I'm trying to get to, is that if what he really needs is friends, then, right? Not someone to pat him on the back and let him do whatever he wants.
yeah, I agree.
Right? So you're going to actively try and stop him from doing whatever you'd see as negative behavior, right? I mean, we're not going to allow him to continue with that negative behavior just because he thinks that's the right way to go about it.
We're not going to make more sock accounts to talk to his sock accounts to appease him.
I mean, we could go make some puppets
stop
for him,
the sock accounts.
No, I mean, you make a good point, but I mean, what I'm scared of is that, I mean, if I call him out on it or something like that, I mean, obviously, inside the church, there's different ways that we handle things. So the thing that I think would be appropriate is to call him out inside the church, not on the World Wide Web. Because, I mean, here's the thing. I'm afraid that if he gets exposed and there's some type of, if in fact all these are him, then what I'm afraid of is he's, out of embarrassment, he's going to go and do something to hurt himself. And I mean,
I really like the idea of contacting his pastor. Honestly, someone brought that up earlier. That seems like it would be a good sort of middleman approach to the thing.
yeah, I think talking to Pastor Alex would probably be a good idea. So I could do that.
But how do we know that Pastor Alex's Facebook account isn't Dave as well?
Oh, no, because I've had Pastor Alex, I've talked to him about things on Facebook, and then talked to him and picked up right where we left off in conversation in real life. So I know that that's him.
Okay, so why wouldn't you let him know that a bunch of his friends on Facebook are actually Dave? And the
I don't know.
sun.
I should have done that. You're right. I should have done that.
And I'm not telling you what you should do. I just don't understand. Like that would be my reaction. Like if this happened to me, like I would be really upset, and I would delete all those people, and then as hard as it might be, I would let all these people around me know that I had been gone and warn them, because I wouldn't want them to be victims as well. And I'm just not getting any kind of victim vibe from you at all. And I don't know, it's weird because I mean, like I get the vibe from you that you're a super nice dude, and that's why I thought that you were the victim in this, but like you just don't seem to feel victimized at all.
I'm probably just because I'm used to it. I'm never gonna be honest with you. So.
Used to what? Being a victim in general, or victimized by Dave, or?
I'm used to suspecting that these profiles are fake.
I mean, I don't know. It didn't take a whole lot of digging for me and John to figure out what was going on. What was really amazing was how far the trail went. It's like a fucking onion. It just goes deeper and deeper and deeper, and deeper than you would think it would go. Go ahead, Alex. You haven't said anything for a while.
How far are these interactions? Joe would probably know better because you, I would assume, have interacted with these people.
Yeah.
Even perhaps outside of just comments or high-fiving each other, on Facebook. Like I imagine that
around the bush. Alex wants to know if you ever had virtual sex with Dave.
That's not what I was asking, Fabio. That is so distracting, dude.
Yeah, right.
As you're talking, it's just like
you're wanting to know the extent of the conversations that I've had with these profiles.
Not necessarily just you. I mean, is it just are his alters or his socks just talking to themselves, or they're spreading out to, let's say, other church members or other people?
No, those profiles sometimes gone as far as dating each other.
What?
Those profiles, yeah, dating each other, but that's those are those profiles interacting with each other to maintain that illusion. But do they go further than your circle with other people? Do they interact with anybody other themselves and perhaps you, and perhaps those comments on the wall? Like, do you know if they reach out with somebody you don't know and are starting to have relationships or interactions with people outside of those circles? I'm just trying to see the extent of these interactions, or the communications, or the problem, rather.
Some of them have requested to be friends with my friends on my friends list that I grew, like friends that I've grown up with.
Okay.
So.
That was sort of my concern when I brought it up earlier. Like, are these affecting the sort of community at large, the people in his network that could be fooled by this?
Well, the people like my personal friends, they've sent like friend requests to. I have kind of filled them in on my suspicions on some of them. So I haven't let everybody go completely to the wayside on this.
Do you guys? I mean, it's been a while since I talked to you, Joe. I mean, do you guys still live together, you and him?
No, he's back in California now.
Okay, so he's not gonna kill you tonight or something like that.
No, I mean I wouldn't be worried about that anyway. I'd be worried about him hurting himself, not me.
Joe's like 7 feet tall, and his house is an armory, and he's got guns strapped all over him.
Yes, Chris, but everyone sleeps.
Oh, I sleep with a gun.
Standing up with a gun.
Who doesn't?
Next Barbie dolls in his sleep. This guy's a beast.
No, I sleep with one under my pillow.
I always have a Barbie doll holster. Barbie dolls.
Did you say Barbie doll holster?
Yeah, you just Barbie doll.
Some.
You seem to have a fascination with Barbie dolls, Chris.
Oh yeah, you're not deflecting at all with that comment.
I'm just saying.
Let's
Hey,
just
yeah,
say
man.
let's just say I don't talk about Barbie dolls with anyone except for professional Barbie doll handlers. I have a Star Wars figure collection, I'll admit to you.
I used to stock Barbie dolls. I don't do it anymore.
Every once in a while, you relapse. You have little cousins come over. I just gotta put it back on the shelf.
There's nothing wrong with dressing up Barbie dolls for displays and whatnot.
Oh yeah, that's my pastime. That's what I do when I'm bored.
Yeah, just trying to make them look good and combing their hair and whatnot. It's all
Some
good.
people do dog clothes.
Yeah.
Ironing their little jackets and whatnot.
I'm very uncomfortable right now.
Bedazzled jean jackets.
Mixing and matching as you will, as one does.
Oh, by the way, Chris, there's another book that I'm reading in addition to the God Delusion. I'm reading pretty much the antithesis of that, like for the Christian version of it.
Don't say Frank Turek.
No, fuck, no.
Okay.
I'm not actually reading I'm not reading anything by Frank Turek. I don't like Frank Turek. David does. I don't.
He's a fucking moron. Well, he's not a moron. He's morally bankrupt. Go on. What else are you reading?
I'm reading Darwin's Doubts by Stephen C. Meyer.
Ooh.
So
I mean, the thing with Darwin.
That's not exactly that's not exactly related. The Dawkins Illusion deals with different issues than Darwin's Doubt does. Actually, the God Delusion. There is a book called the Dawkins Illusion, but the God Delusion doesn't deal with evolution that much, quite frankly.
yeah, I know, but it's the closest thing that I could find to it. So
Actually, there is good rejoinder to the God Delusion. It's not that good, but I forgot who wrote it. I'll try to find it and post it in the chat.
The thing is, whenever you're researching evolution, like, Darwin is covered when you study science. Like, you go over him, but he's a long forgotten blip on the radar. Like, nothing about the current state of the theory of evolution hinges on anything that Darwin said. Like, he was one of the first guys to describe what we see happening, and everything that he said has been approved upon since then. So, he's not an authority on evolution. It's a field of science. Like, you can't just disprove one guy or pick apart one guy, right? Like, it's not a religion, it's a science. So
Say that the theory evolved.
just be wary of anything that mentions Darwin. That's kind of a clue that you're stumbled onto something more like propaganda. But I'm not trying to discount any book that mentions him. Just saying in general, it's a key word to be wary of.
I know.
I mean, I think it's just human behavior that we are creating a godlike figure, and people are putting Darwin as the god in some sense. You need something tangible or an idea or something with intent that you can take down. That's why Darwin is this guy. It's not a collective of science and work together.
Darwin's like Freud in psychology. Like, you have to learn about Freud and everything he said, but no one really takes him seriously anymore, right? He paved the way for some great developments later on, but he's not the go-to guy, right? Darwin's kind of the same way.
That's a perfect analogy, Elijah, because both those guys are basically pre-modern scientific method. So their ideas were really advanced for their times, and they helped establish their fields, but they've long since been surpassed by the scientific method. and the magnitude of data and research that's been compiled since they were active.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, have you ever read The Origin of the Species? I mean, it's a tough slog to get through, but it's actually really hard to deny the conclusions he comes to in that book. He's really quite thorough in his proofs. I mean, a lot of people detract from Darwin, but I mean, he's actually quite thorough when you go through why he comes to the conclusions he has. You know.
No, I haven't. I haven't read it.
I don't think Joe doesn't deny evolution anyways. He accepts evolution. He just believes in magical sky fairies and original sin and all this stuff.
You're right. You're right.
Let's get back to the topic though, because it's a juicy one. So are you sure that Dave has actually left the state?
You know, I've thought about that. I mean, he posted himself. He posted a picture of himself on a Greyhound bus. So, I mean, I do believe him.
On or next to?
What was that?
Like inside the bus or next to a bus?
No, on it. I mean, it's got to be pretty weird taking pictures of yourself on a bus, but yeah, he was. He was.
Not that weird. Fuck off.
I'm on a fucking bus, motherfucker. I'm on a fucking bus.
Selfie. Get out of my shot. Selfie.
What's up, bitch? I got a bus ticket.
Oh, I know he's going for his license. So I mean, he just doesn't have it yet. Yeah. He had a tough enough upbringing. He didn't have the money to go when he first came of age to be able to drive.
What's he gonna drive?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't want
I'm
to
about
brag, but I'm a professional driver.
Mhm.
That's what I do.
Damn it. Trying to figure out why the hell my e-cig isn't like hitting as hard as it does.
You got some kind of weed oil in there, or what?
No, it's just blueberry vapor.
What's it doing exactly?
It's not hitting as hard as it normally does. It's like really, really, really weak, and I just charged it, so I don't know why.
Can I see your model?
What was that?
Can I see the actual
Yeah.
e-cig?
It's an
The
eco
one
battery.
with that, what's it called?
It's
The section where you fill it in directly, or do you have to like refill like filters and stuff?
No, I have to refill the filter.
Okay.
It doesn't have a tank on it. The ones with the tanks
tank,
are like
that's
$60.
cool. Yeah, I have a tank one too, but I keep breaking the chargers and I can't find those specific charger. Last time I tried to look for one, I bought a whole new model,
Oh wow.
which sucks.
Man, I'll tell you, and out here, the fucking bottles of juice are expensive too.
How many milligrams?
Oh, 0. It's just vapor.
Oh,
It's not the nicotine that I crave. It's the motion. It's feeling like I'm smoking. So that's why it helps me out. But no, it's a pretty cool. My boss's one is nice. He's got the one. It's got like a big box with a digital screen and all, like a fucking huge ass tank.
What? He smokes from an iPad?
That's pretty.
It sounds like the eye taste, like the size of a cigarette pack, rectangle.
That's pretty much what it is. It's like a. I don't know. It's weird. It's got like a digital screen on it and all kinds of shit.
Tells
But
you
he
the
paid.
temperature.
But he paid like $100 for it though.
Yeah.
Every
So
time you
like
take a
eye
haul,
taste, definitely.
tweets.
Where'd Chris go?
Poop.
That's your go-to.
Chris had to put more gel in his hair for a second.
Yeah. Fan was just getting to him.
See? Look how bright it is now.
What's that? You guys talking about my hair?
He's having a good hair day. Don't blame a man for
Chris,
that.
Chris is just trying to get to the point where his hair is as amazing as mine is naturally. That's really what it is.
Good hair life. So, Joe, would you care to, off the top of your head, just list the accounts that you think are suspect, and we'll just compare lists?
Tanisha Capel, Terrell Capel, Violet Jackson, and Jasmine McVeigh.
So you, I mean, have you ever heard of Jessica Lee Curtis? She posts a lot. I'm really curious about her.
Yeah, I don't know. I think she's for real.
No.
But not Jasmine McVeigh.
Was that?
But
Well,
not
I mean, I
Jasmine
don't know.
McVeigh. I mean,
I don't
Jessica
know.
Lee Curtis is clearly a sock of Dave's. Come on.
Why do you say that?
Have you looked at her profile? All her pictures are new profile pictures are all from stolen from the internet of some model. Only talks if she's going to support Dave in a conversation.
I haven't paid her account that much attention, so I don't really know.
I mean, like, there's
she
a clear
lives in
mold.
Colorado, Joe. I mean,
What's
Yeah,
that?
be better.
she lives in Colorado.
Can I ask a really personal question, Joe?
Go ahead.
Like, how's David's like love life generally? I mean, as long as you've known him, how many? Does he have a lot of girlfriends or whatever? I mean, women over or whatever.
A fair amount. I don't know that we would define girlfriend in the same way because we don't really believe in dating. We believe in courtship, but I guess you could say.
Right. Just a lot of what I'm seeing, a lot of this whole with the stock accounts and the kind of accounts he's making, it kind of raises red flags.
Yeah, no, I understand.
What about Mark Sarche? You don't really think that that's his brother, do you?
I'm undecided about that one. I don't know.
Because, I mean, I image searched his pictures, and they're from a gay bodybuilding site, and they don't all match. And then remember, he was in a conversation with you and Dave where he was saying that he hated Dave, and Dave said he hated him because he was a homosexual. But then he married Amy Kim, but then Amy Kim dumped him. Or no, he dumped Amy Kim. And Amy Kim is clearly Dave too. So there's some red flags for you.
Yeah, no, I understand. He's just one of the one. I did go through his profile. I've been through his profile a few times. I notice all of his pictures don't look the same, but I don't know if that's just because like he's getting older and they're older pictures. I mean, I don't know. It looks similar enough for me to believe that it might be the same person. I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm telling you right now that they're all from a homosexual bodybuilding website. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And he's also talking to another bodybuilder who I was looking at this one last night, and so yeah, his friend, he's like, don't make me have a pose off with you, bro, or something like that. And so I reverse image searched his pictures, and they were from a different bodybuilder. So Dave's fake brother is talking to a fake guy. Dave is talking to Dave.
That is pretty weird. That is pretty awkward. So.
Is my fan better, you guys?
Yeah, much better, man.
Trying to ruin the whole hangout by oscillating my fan or anything. What do you think about bowing?
We have a guest appearance.
Oh, there's your ugly kitty cat.
Fuck you.
I'm just kidding. He's cute.
He didn't mean it. He meant you're gorgeous, Angel. That's what he meant. I talked to my cat. It's okay.
What about Dave's cousin Chang Yu and Bao Yu, I think his sister there? They're having a little family drama. Have you been watching that?
No.
Do you suspect those accounts? Like, they have the exact same background as all the, like, that's the classic mold where people have this Taiwanese flag for their backdrop.
Those accounts I don't suspect, and I'll tell you why. Because I've seen David and Bao Yu and Chang Yu online all at the same time. And I know that from one device you can't log into 3 different Facebook accounts. So.
Why not? Well, I mean, if you have more than one device, though, I mean, you could log in, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, and at most that I knew, he had a laptop and he had a cell phone, so that would account for 2 devices, but I don't know where the third one.
You can log in through Chrome on one and Explorer on the other, and Firefox on the other.
But what would be the point of logging onto 3 accounts at one time? I mean, I can't imagine why he would want to do that.
To try and pretend it's true.
Well, I don't know that you can do that. I think you're mistaken on that, Chris.
No, that's correct. You can do that. Yeah, I can assure you can do that.
'Cause I have 2 Facebook accounts. I don't I'm not in the closet, but I started a second Facebook account just for internet friends, just because I didn't want to burden my friends and family with religious posts, because I don't really like when people spam my wall with religious posts. And that's how I know. I have two Facebook accounts, and I know that I can't access them both in the same browser, but I can access them both if I have 2 browsers open.
Oh, all right. I guess.
Even the same browser? Even the same browser? Like Chrome? Is that?
I've never tried that. I don't think that would work.
No, I don't think it works that way. For the same browser.
Yeah, I don't think it works in the same browser at the same time, but I'm not sure.
Here, I mean, Joe, I mean, you can see the screen, right?
Yeah.
Just let me. Here, I'm gonna start screen sharing something. Just let me know if you can see it.
I better not be a penis.
Yeah, totally. I better make sure my gay porn's off here. Okay, good. So now this is Bao Yu's page. You'd say Bao Yu you think is a person, right?
Korean.
Yeah. She's from Taiwan. Okay. Yeah. This is a post from her. It says, "If you mean to my cousin, then we can't be friends. My cousin is sweetheart, and if you mean to him, then you're stupid and don't deserve friends." His cousin, of course, referring to David Shu.
Yeah.
Now this is the people who like this. Now, can you see this? This is Jasmine McVeigh, Amy Kim, Jessica Lee Curtis, Terrell Capel, Young Sup Lee, and Chang Yu. Now, three out of those people, I'm pretty sure we've just confirmed are fake people, right? So this means that even if his cousin is posting this, David is going along as sock accounts and liking the post in 3 different sock accounts. like he's taking time to make sure that this gets upped or makes it look like this is getting a lot of support, right? And it seems like it's very systemic in that way, right? I mean, we're looking at something that's clearly he's actively working very hard to keep the likes and the comments coming.
I think that Terrell is clearly one of his sock accounts. I could see all the reason why he would have Terrell Capel as one of his accounts there.
Right, and I mean,
that threw me off the first time I saw it. It's like I'm like, damn, this guy has hot friends.
Exactly. I mean, it's amazing. They're all model quality, right? And after a while, it starts to make a lot of sense, right? But I think what set me off really was when Terrell Capel stepped in and started threatening me physically, right? And it seemed sort of out of place. But then when I thought about it, it seemed like Dave kind of maybe would need a fake profile in order to physically threaten me across the internet. Like he'd need that extra little bit of protection just in case.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that.
And I
don't know about that. I know
I mean,
David's pretty upfront with how he feels about people.
But that doesn't seem to be true, right? I mean, I suspect that Bao Yu and Chang Yu are both Dave, and here's Bao Yu defending Dave, and Dave using sock accounts to continue the illusion that people are supporting him, right? I mean, that feels like someone creating a support network for themselves, right? And I don't necessarily think that they're, I'm not even judging about that they're all sock accounts. I don't even have to assume that. I only have to assume that half of them are sock accounts, and it seems like a clear pattern of behavior.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So I mean, if it's true, I mean, are you gonna stop responding to people who you suspect are sock accounts, or?
If I know for sure that they are, then yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just worried because I feel like there's the people who are actually interacting with Dave right now have been warned not to have anything to do with either me or Chris, and at this point, we're not going to be able to communicate with them in an open forum like this. And so I'm wondering, Joe, I mean, do you feel like we need to, actively push any further? I don't even want to start contacting people that I suspect are real to try to warn them. If I would rather if Dave would feel responsible enough to come clean about his activity. Just come clean and say, yeah, I was just, I'm just running. I'm just running an experiment in my head. I'm creating drama, or something like that. If it's a problem for him to come clean, I don't know. Then I think we should look into, he can look into getting help for that. But I don't know if we can keep supporting him like this, right? I feel like we're enabling something that's not going to be healthy for him in the long run.
To be honest, I don't know how to answer that because, again, I'm just afraid of the risk of pushing him over the edge and then something happens.
Here's the thing. I hope I sound okay. I had to transition to my tablet. But it's all in how you say things, right? I would say, Dave, I'm really worried about you, and I think that you've been engaging in a number of unhealthy behaviors, and I want to help you get out of this. It doesn't have to be anything negative. It can be just as supportive as you're able to word it.
I would have kind of told him just flat out, look, I suspect that these people are false accounts. I'm going to delete them. I don't have any reason not to believe that they're false accounts. I'm going to delete them, and if this is something at least you want to talk about, I'm cool with it. I probably would respond well with that kind of It's like, it's fine. Like, you might have a thing, but I'm here. I'm like, I'm not going to continue to engage that, but I'm here to talk to you whenever you come around. At least as a stat.
You could say, like, it's not a big deal to me, but I think it's probably a big deal to some other people, like our pastor and our pastor's son.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I mean, I've seen some posts where Violet Jackson was in the hospital, right? And the pastor says that they're going to pray for them, and I mean, that's sort of things where, I mean, you see like something that you suspect is a sock account pretending to be in the hospital for God knows what. I mean, what kind of sympathy game can a sock account be playing for, right? Like, it all feels so wrong and so icky when you look at it like that. Actively seeking sympathy or actively seeking out other people's opinions when you're doing it under false pretenses, right? I don't understand the mentality, Joe, and I don't know, how do we move forward with this, right? Like, do you see us being able to talk to Dave again? Like, is he gonna talk to us, or?
Well, he said that he will before he left.
Okay.
So I'd have to assume that he will.
Well, I hope that's true.
Yeah, and this could, Joe, be sort of, I mean, especially when we talk about the idea of trying to garnish sympathy for a sock account. I mean, it could be a very elaborate cry for help. So for someone like you who is his close friend, this could be your chance to kind of step in, and it probably would be a good idea for you to tell him your suspicions if you genuinely have them.
No, I do. I've told him my suspicions about a few of the profiles that I think they're more likely than not fake. So.
What was his actual reaction when you did that, if you don't mind me asking?
He got insulted, saying that people that actually know him know that he wouldn't do something like that, and if I was guessing that meant that I had no idea who he was to begin with. Yeah.
Well, that kind of raises suspicion right there, quite frankly.
But that's that's what I would say if I felt ashamed or insulted, or probably more ashamed than anything.
And didn't he say that anyone that brings this up with him is going to get immediately blocked? Like, it's pretty defensive behavior. I would want to prove my innocence.
We'll just be really personal about it. I mean, the guy clearly has some insecurities about women, and it seems like to question this the validity of these accounts is to sort of say, you couldn't have friends like this, right? So maybe that's how he interprets it when you question it.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, there's a lot of things. I have a question. Okay, so I don't know. I know this is probably live. Is it being recorded or no?
Yeah, it'll be on my channel, Joe.
All right. There are some things that I mean, I'm a little bit suspicious about with him. Like, honestly, here's the deal. Here's the thing, the problem that I have. So he knows what accounts I think are fake. I don't think he's going to address this claim with anybody else anymore. I think he's pretty much done talking about this. But he knows what accounts that I think are fake. Here's the problem is that I guess one of the things I'm really nervous about, besides pushing him over the edge, is that if these accounts are really fake and it's been going on for this long, then I have to wonder what else he's lied about too. So, I mean, there's been a lot of if something like this is proven that he did do it, then I would have to call into question anything else that he's told me, because me and him have been having these same kind of issues with people and raising this issue to both of us since the beginning of time that we've been friends. So and we've been friends for going on 5 years.
I suppose you can't help but wonder, I guess, but I wouldn't. I think reflexively, people would wonder about other things, but I wouldn't give it too much attention. I don't know, because I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot about when gay people come out, that when they finally do, a lot of people get upset and say, well, I wonder what else they've lied to me about, and it paints. I mean, he might just have this one problem, and he'll be painted all kinds of color afterwards. And I personally think it'd be fair just to maybe focus on this, if this particular issue.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, there is a possibility he lied. There is a possibility that he didn't. I mean, this might be maybe he's beginning his cycle of behavior, which I'm not thinking is necessarily malicious. I think he's playing Sims in real life.
Yeah. Well, outside of all this, I mean, I do gotta let you guys know. Outside of all this, like, he is I'm gonna use this term loosely because I don't want to get into a religious debate, but he is a really good person. Like, he is a really nice person. He genuinely, does care for people. Like, if you sit down and tell him you have an issue, there are certain times where I've called him, where I didn't have, an idea on things of what to do. And, he gives some of the most logical answers you can think of. And then this issue comes up, and it looks really damning against him.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's damning is it looks like it's been going on for so long, Joe, and I think you're. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say, right? I mean, if you didn't know about it, then at the very least, I mean, our behavior sort of allowed it, right? I mean, we didn't actively look into these people when we were interacting with them, right? I mean, isn't that our mistake that we're maybe a little embarrassed about? Like,
what do you mean?
Well, I mean, isn't there a hesitance for us to? I mean, for both you and me, I mean, aren't we hesitant to believe that we could be taken in by someone like that, right? Like, or by a con like that, right? Like, so I mean,
I think.
I understand. I mean, I understand that you've been friends with them for 5 years, and I think that makes it worse, right? I mean, at some point, I mean, at least your behavior was allowing that to happen, right? Like.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And if it's true that I had a part in it, not an active part, passive part, but I had a part in it. Yeah.
I guess. Right, exactly. I mean, I just view friendship as sort of like a guy who's willing to call you on your shit, right? Like, that's sort of the point, or at least the benefit you could actually get out of a friend. And so, I always wonder, like, if there was something that obvious or that something that suspicious, I would call someone out on that. I don't know, but maybe your guys' friendship is a different way, right? So I don't want to make any assumptions about that.
No, I don't know that it's a different way. I don't know. I'm just worried about him. I'm just worried that if something, if he's publicly embarrassed, then maybe he's going to do something to himself or something like that. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, Joe, I mean, I'm sympathetic to that, but like, I don't think that we need to handle everybody on the internet with kid gloves, right? I mean, David's made enough videos, I think, online that, I mean, he's willing to take a certain amount of negative response to what he says, right? I mean, you must know that being public with that sort of thing does, in fact, you're almost asking for a response. In fact, you are asking for a response to it by publishing it, right?
I would.
I'd like to say a couple things. First of all, you said when you were defending Dave and saying that he was a good person, you said, I don't want this to turn into a religious discussion, but Dave's a good person, and I wonder if you're not equating being religious with good, because for me they're not the same thing. And then I'll let you answer, but my second point is, say this was the thing that pushed Dave over the edge and he did hurt himself, and I hope he doesn't. That doesn't mean that it's our fault, and I think it would really be a mistake for us to blame ourselves for anything that Dave does, and for him to use this as an excuse to do anything. I care about Dave. I want Dave to do better, but I'm just not going to tolerate this behavior, and I'm also not going to blame myself if something happens to him later, because I didn't make Dave depressed. I didn't make Dave create sock puppet accounts. I didn't make Dave say terrible things on the internet and lie to his best friend. Right? I'm just the guy that came along and realized that things weren't adding up, and was intrigued by the mystery of it all.
Yeah. To answer your question about when I said I don't want to make this a religious debate, I was using the word good loosely because holding to the doctrine of original sin, I don't believe that anybody's good. Not even me. Like, I think we all have the propensity to do evil, and that's what I was saying.
So are we all equally equal, or some of us more evil than others?
I think some of us, I mean, we're not all Charles Mansons and Timothy McVeighs, but I think we all have the propensity to be.
Mostly not that, though, right? Like, when you say propensity, don't you mean just possibility to do evil? I mean, that exists, and so therefore we can be good, right? I mean, it's sort of the point that the possibility of evil sort of makes our actions good, right?
Well, no. Well, what I mean by that, what I'm trying to say is, I think that to a certain degree, I mean, you might not go out and kill anybody, but I think to a certain degree, we all gravitate towards the pleasures of the flesh, or things that wouldn't be glorifying to God.
Wait. See, that's weird. Like, those two things in the same sentence sort of seem strange, right? Pleasures of the flesh. Why would that necessarily not be glorifying to God? Are you defining pleasures of the flesh as things that don't glorify God?
Well, what I'm saying is we all, like, as part of our teaching, I would define there's spiritual things and there's worldly things, and worldly things are not spiritual things in our teaching. And I'm being clear when I say in our teaching. So no, I don't think that they would be glorifying Him. Like pleasures of the flesh would be to go out and have sex with as many women as you want to, but that means that I'm committing adultery. You know what I mean? And
well, I mean, this is the thing, is like doesn't appeal to everyone, right? And so I would say that, I mean, if you say pleasures of the flesh, I get the sensation that you're just referring to anything that brings anyone pleasure, right? I mean, any sort of physical pleasure that I can gain, be that as a mental pleasure or a physical pleasure, right?
So I've already murdered and raped and cheated on my girlfriend as much as I want to, and that's zero.
I mean, this is, Joe, and I'm trying to bring this back to where our conversation is, right? I mean, like, you and Dave both laid the accusation a couple times that atheists have a hard time being honest. You know, that we have, because of our lack of objective morality. Sorry, I'm using air quotes, so you can't see me. Objective morality. Because of the use of we don't use objective morality. That somehow we can't be honest in our conversations, or we can't value honesty, right? And I find that that's a weird leap to make, right? We value what makes us happy, and what makes me happy is honesty in a conversation. So that it seems like the pleasures of the flesh there actually line up with what you believe would be God's desire, right? And so that's why I don't see them lined up as dichotomous, right? It's not pleasure of the flesh or what pleases God. what pleases God is what pleases your flesh. You're just expressing that pleasure in a different way. Instead of getting a momentary pleasure of sensation, you're getting a long-lasting or temporary pleasure from your experience of pleasing God.
What I think what we would say is, and is Elijah and the other one still here? What's his name?
I'm still here, yeah. Yeah.
Here you go. Okay, I didn't know if you guys heard me, because I remember we were talking about this last time I talked to you, too. When we were saying that atheists don't appreciate honesty, I don't remember exactly what we said, but that's kind of in the ballpark of it. What we're saying is that you have no objective reason to appreciate honesty. Like, that's great. It's all great and fine and dandy that you like to be honest, but your worldview doesn't say that, okay, well, like, you should objectively be honest, or that if there's any reason to be honest.
Well, I mean, the reason to be honest is pretty obvious, isn't it? I mean, if people aren't honest, you can't trust what they say, so talking to them would be pointless. So in a conversation, the assumption of honesty is implicit already before you've even begun. I just don't understand.
I remember the day I had. Sorry.
I mean, this is the thing, Joe. I mean, and the word objective morality there is sort of a weird way of putting it. Like, I mean, how would a morality that's based apart from my experience of it have any bearing on the situation you're describing there?
Well, I guess what I'm saying about honesty is this. Like, let's just say that me and you, okay, we are all talking. As a Christian, I might get mad sometimes, like, at things that an atheist would say to me, because sometimes I look stupid. Sometimes an atheist does have a good point. I'm sitting here arguing a point that, I know, they have a better point on, so I have to be forced to. I don't like to admit that I'm wrong. I don't like to admit that I'm wrong. I mean, I will, but I don't like it. But what I'm saying is, like, let's say we're having a conversation, and Elijah or you or anybody in this conversation says something I don't like. I might think, hey, I don't like that. I want to twist what they're saying, but in the back of my mind, I'll say something like, well, that would be lying, and I know that I don't want to do that because it's not honest to do that. Without objective morality, I mean, how do you think, how would you handle that very same situation? Like, if you didn't want to admit you were wrong and you really, really didn't like something I said, what stops you from twisting my words?
Sure, but I mean, Joe, like, your initial impulse to lie there wouldn't have got you the result you desired, and thus it wouldn't have satisfied the end. I mean, the conclusion you were looking for. I mean, you can't. If you were to lie there, you would be called out on it, right? I mean, that's why you didn't lie. So I understand the point you're trying to make there, that you have maybe the desire to do what's wrong or the desire to satisfy an impulse, but the more knowledge you have about it is what we're trying to say. Is the way that you solve that problem. You don't solve it by appealing to an exterior morality. That actually isn't even how you're solving that problem.
Can I interject with an experience? My parents were really strict in my household, and so strict, in fact, that anything was better than telling the truth. Like, no matter how innocent a mistake I made, I would be punished.
Hold on for a minute, guys.
That was an extreme laydown there.
Little Joe drama in the hood.
Yeah, I mean,
if I can say it to you guys. Oh, he's back.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Everything okay?
Yeah, I just had to go check something out in the living room real quick.
Okay. So what I was going to say is, so yeah, when I was younger, basically in my teenage years, every time I made an innocent mistake, I was punished as though it was a nefarious mistake by my parents, and they just took the attitude that I was smart enough to know better, so there were no innocent mistakes. So I would tell lies to avoid being caught, right? To avoid punishment. But as I approached adulthood, I remember having a conversation with one of my cousins who's a very honest person, and he explained to me how by always telling the truth, he was able to never worry about anything because, he didn't have anything to worry about. And I was able to adopt that as a way of life, not immediately, but pretty quickly. And basically since my early late teens, I've been completely honest with every person I've interacted with very few exceptions. I mean, I will not mention things sometimes, and I'll tell white lies if I absolutely have to. But I basically, I've lost a lot of friends from being too honest. And so the reason I tell this story is because the reason I'm honest is not because I believe in objective honesty or objective good, but because I profit from it. Sometimes it hurts me, but it allows me to live a lifestyle that I enjoy more than a dishonest lifestyle.
I'm changing my name because
You didn't hear any of that because there's some kind of drum in the hood there.
Hello?
Hey, Joe.
Hold on. I'm gonna get really aggravated. I'm getting really aggravated. Okay, whatever. Hello?
Hey, Joe.
Yeah, fucking. She's totally lucky I have fucking patience to deal with her.
No worries, Joe. So, I mean, I think what maybe Chris was getting at was that, I mean, objective morality isn't the reason we are honest, but it doesn't mean that we don't value honesty or that we're not honest people, right? And I find that it's a weird leap, right? Because even honesty, like Chris was pointing out, isn't objective. It's not objectively good in all situations. We aren't honest in all situations, and sometimes that's a good thing, right? I mean, would you agree with that? I mean,
No, I don't think I would. I don't think I would agree with that.
so you'd agree in honesty in all possible contingency. Like there's no situation in which honesty wouldn't be the best policy.
I mean, obviously, I don't know. I guess if you're coming to a situation where, like, somebody's looking for somebody to hurt them or something like that, they just, oh, where is this person? And you lie about it, then I guess that would be justified.
Right, and I think that exception there is sort of the disproof of objective morality in that case, right? I mean, we don't have to objectively hold it or view the totality of all morality in order to make decisions about situations, right? And I'm thinking that way every bit of morality must be necessarily subjective.
Well, no, I don't know that it actually negates objective morality, because
not necessarily, and it may exist out there, right?
What I was saying is, I don't think it, like, you're being a moral person by not allowing the other person to be hurt. So, I mean, obviously, there is a sense of morality there by protecting the other person. So.
Well, I mean, it's sort of strange, right? I mean, because you're sort of equating two things there, right? Like our belief in objective morality and then our action, you're judging that as immoral. But I mean, you're not really making the case as to what exactly the immoral act is, right? And how that connects with our belief in the same framework of morality as you. And I think it's sort of just it feels a lot here, Joe. Just let me finish. It feels a lot like it's an ad hom against us, right? I mean, that that way, I mean, you can dismiss anything we say as a possible lie because we're atheists, right? We don't have the base, the reason to be honest like you do, and I feel like that's
And he's
if
been
that's
doing
the
that
reason,
against
then
Mormons this week too. That
yeah,
really
I mean,
disappointed me, Joe, when you were telling Mormons that you wouldn't expect them to tell the truth because they're Mormons. That's bullshit.
Because their church teaches them to lie about history. So.
well, I mean, it's sort of unfortunate though, right? Like it may teach them proselytizing methods that you might view as dishonest, but I mean, how exactly are you going to say that each Mormon is a liar, right? I mean,
It's that misunderstanding of lying. They're not lying. Their cult gives them their version of history, and your cult gives you your version of history, and you're both mistaken, but you're just going to go ahead and call everyone else a liar.
To keep it even practical, if you would tell me, consistently that Terrell, for example, was real, and it's from what we understand as a lie, would you be lying? If you're telling something not knowing it's a lie, it can't be reflective of all Mormons, the Mormon Church.
I think with the amount of attention that's gotten paid to Mormonism as in the last couple of years, I would find it a far stretch to say that any of them don't know that they're bending the truth at least a little bit.
well, I mean, this is the thing, Joe. Is I mean, religion tends to allow people to justify those sort of, sweep those sort of doubts underneath the carpet, or move past those sort of things and focus just on the, the relationship or the benefits that they're getting from the religion. And so I think it's still quite a stretch to call them lying, or to say that they're knowingly bending the truth. I think that's a big stretch, right? I mean, especially when they themselves profess, the valuation of I mean, they value honesty in their religion. So I mean, it seems like.
I'll tell you a reason why I don't think they do. And I'll be straight up with this. It feels kind of weird that I'm having this conversation with, other people that I know are atheists. But if you read the Bible, it tells you that Jesus was like Mary became pregnant by the foreshadowing of the Holy Spirit. That's how Jesus came along, virgin birth. Now, if you read the Book of Mormon, where it'll tell you that he was once a man, it tells you that he was once a man that was physically created from God the Father, who had a body of flesh and bone, and came down and copulated with Mary to make Jesus. Both of those books the Book of Mormon and the Bible are both part of their 4 standard works, and they believe in both of them, and those are both contradictions.
Yeah, sorry, what was that? You said the foreshadowing of the Holy Spirit?
Yeah.
What exactly?
Basically it says that she will be overcome by the Holy Spirit and have a miraculous virgin birth. Which is, and if you believe what the Bible says about that, versus what the Book of Mormon says, that God the Father physically came down in a body as tangible as man's, which is how it words it, and it says that he physically came down and copulated with Mary. Both of those statements are exact opposites. They can't both be true. So
but Joe, I mean, one of those happens every day on planet Earth, and one of those doesn't.
They can't both be true, but they can both be totally wrong and made up.
Well, I would point out that at least copulation makes babies. I mean, I've never heard of the foreshadowing of a Holy Spirit creating a baby, right? So I mean, I would say, Joe, that I mean, you're sort of just pointing out just two versions of two unlikely stories, right? I mean, as far as we're concerned, and you pointed out that we're atheists and we don't believe you, but I mean, do you see how calling the other person a liar sort of puts you in the same boat, right? It's like you're pointing out your own lies. It's a bad way to argue. That's what we're trying to say.
Well, no, I mean, like I will certainly admit to you, in my mind doesn't understand a virgin birth. I don't understand it. Okay,
But Joseph, the problem is that a Mormon can say that the apparent contradiction that you mentioned, they may not completely understand, or they would simply say that the foreshadowing of the Holy Spirit is allegorical in some way, and that the later revelation, which is what the Book of Mormon is supposed to be, sort of clarifies everything that came before it, which in this case would be the New Testament. So I find it incredible that you would think that Mormons are all or even mostly lying about this. I think that they really do, at least the recruit level Mormons, who are the kind of people that knock on your doors, they do actually believe this, I think. I mean, it blows my mind that you would think otherwise. I mean, why would they go through this process if they were lying about it? I don't think that's true at all.
I'll tell you a good example, or at least a better example, or someone I'll lead you to somebody that can give a better example of teachings of the Mormon Church. Have any of you guys ever heard of a guy named Sean McCraney?
No, I'm sorry, no.
All right, he has a show. He has a show called Heart of the Matter, where he teaches. He was a Mormon for 40 years, and he goes through Mormon doctrine and how Mormons changed their doctrine to appeal to bigger crowds, or they would, like, he would know about secret temple rituals that they've done, and when he would ask other Mormons, well, you know, if this isn't true, then why do you do this secret temple ritual? And they would deny it, and he knew they was denying it because he went through the same thing. You know, so I mean, at least they were lying. At least they were lying.
It may be that the higher ups in the Mormon Church right now are sort of fabricating things to suit their needs, but I don't think that the sort of everyday Mormon who just hears what they hear from the higher ups is lying in any way. They accept whatever they hear because that's what they've been trained to do, the same way other Christians do in other denominations, right?
Yeah, let's not overthink this. Like Joe, if you go through the timeline from the first records of the Christian faith to your exact position, how many splits are there?
What do you mean?
Do you want to call all those splits lies, or would you call them differences of opinion or something else? Right? That's what you're doing. Is you know.
I would call the church that I came out of a lie. I would call Roman Catholicism a lie. I would call Mormon a lie, being a Mormon. I would say you pretty much know that what you're telling is untrue. I mean, I came out of the Roman church. I came out of the Roman church, and there's some doctrines that I learned in that church, which I don't see how they could be anything but lies.
I'm not talking about Catholicism. I'm talking about wherever exactly you are in your beliefs, how many splits are there between that and the earliest Christianity?
Well, as Calvinists, we believe that we follow Orthodox Christianity. So when you're talking about early Christians, you're talking about us.
I think a lot of people say that they're following, you know, true Christianity. The Baptists will say that as well.
Yeah, but when you're a Baptist, if you're a Baptist or part of a church like that, I'm not going to bastardize them, but a lot of them are under, you know, here's the deal. I had a friend of mine one time. He's a street preacher, and he's real Old Testament. And he's real. You have to follow the Old Testament to the T. You're under the law, and all these laws, we're gonna put all these laws and rules on you, and we're gonna browbeat you. And he was basically proselytizing to this couple in the middle of the street, bastardizing them because I think the girl's clothes were too revealing. And I went up to him while he was pretty much bastardizing these people in the street, and I asked him what Leviticus said about men with long hair. And he got pissed at me for pointing that out. Well, here's the deal. Like, if you're going to follow the Old Testament, you want all these laws on top of you. I mean, you can't eat shellfish, you can't have long hair, you can't have clothing that makes two, you know, things together. But that was all. Yeah, I mean, I'm not pulling the old bullshit Christian excuse. Oh, that's all the Old Testament. The New Testament is just this fluffy, you know, love story and stuff. The difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament
is that we don't have to follow 343 commandments. We have to follow 6. And that's it.
When I had converted, I was in a Pentecostal church. I personally wasn't Pentecostal. I was more of a bastardizer. I was more the person. I mean, I convinced a couple of people to walk out during a sermon at a youth group because a female was preaching. I was like full hardcore. But the Pentecostal side, like one of the, pardon me?
In Second Timothy, we're commanded not to allow a female to the office of a pastor, and the reason for that is because men are supposed to lead, not in a sexist like you're a woman, I'm man, I'm better. But as men,
I know. Women had specific roles, was to teach children and other women. But our church, which believed that they were following true Christianity, said it was fine to do that. It said it was fine to do a lot of different things that didn't seem to line up. Even between because the church had kind of a corporation or a big group, and they had many churches within it, and some of the churches spoke in tongues more often and regularly, and they believed that that was the truth. And whilst our church was a bit more lenient, they didn't necessarily they wouldn't stop anybody from doing it, but they didn't really push for it. Some people agreed, some people didn't. This is divine revelation, right? Even within our own group, even within like a 30-minute drive to the other church, or maybe 15-minute, we had divisions. Everybody believing that they followed the one true belief system, and resistant to criticism. That's why I left.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you there. I mean, there's a bunch of different, and I mean, I don't think, like for any denomination, this is gonna make me seem dumb for what I just said. I don't think any denomination has everything 100% correct, but I do think that there's denominations that, I mean, I do think that there's denominations that are closer to the original, pretty close to the original.
Yeah. I can't hear half of what he's saying right now, but let me just say this whole idea that Calvinism somehow is the actual earliest Christianity, form of Christianity. Calvinism is a piecemeal approach to the New Testament in a sense that it's a systematic theology put together by different sayings, some of which are taken into context. It blows my mind that anyone would say that Calvinism is the earliest form of Christianity, because no church father from 99 BC onward ever thought of this shit before what Martin Luther started bringing it up. And then John Calvin, obviously, much later, he's the guy that brought it, that sort of categorized it as the official form of Calvinism. Nobody in the earliest centuries of Christianity ever thought of anything that Calvinism teaches nowadays. So the idea that this is, I mean, how in the world did the second century church miss everything that had to do with Calvinism? Blows my mind.
Have you read any of the Apostle Paul's writings?
Yes, I've read all of the Apostle Paul's writing more times than you have, Joseph, and I know them better than you do. But the bottom line is that I'm sorry, you're just piecing them together. You brought a bit of Romans 9 here and there, and maybe a little bit of the chain of salvation. But the fact of the matter is that people that supposedly knew this, you know what I mean, after the Apostle Paul in the second century, didn't put those pieces together. And you can't just assume that, the guy in the 17th century that read it, he clearly knew better than the guys in the second century, right?
What about Romans 8, where it says where he pretty much says about there's going to be his chosen people, his elect. Those who I've chosen, I've also justified, and those I've justified, I've glorified. Romans 8.
That's so far beyond. That's so far beyond the tulip doctrine that is now the systematic form of all of that, right? That's just a little tiny piece of information. You can interpret it 100 different ways if you wanted to.
How else can you interpret that? I mean, read Romans 8:28. How else can you interpret that?
I mean, hey, Joe. I mean, there's a specific context in which Paul was writing, and I mean, I think it's odd that you think that context was clearer in the 16th century than it was in the second, right? I mean, that's the problem here, right? It's sort of there's sort of this weird equivocation, as if you're saying you got the early churches, you got the early Christianity. This is the real stuff. But it took so long to develop to that point. You know, like why would it take, you know, another like 15, 16 centuries after Jesus has come, after Paul has, you know, met God on Jesus on the road? You know, why does it take so long after that to finally get to the doctrine of real Christianity?
Well, can I just read something to you guys? I mean, if we're gonna go here, do you guys mind if I read just a couple verses to you guys and see how you
From
guys?
the Bible?
Please do, please.
So, and we know that God causes all things to work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to His purpose. For whom He foreknew, He also predestined to become conformed to the image of His Son, that He might be the firstborn among many brethren. And this is the last verse. And those who He predestined, He also called, and whom He called, these He also justified, and whom He justified, He also glorified. That's pretty much talking about the doctrine of predestination or election.
Well,
That's pretty clear, point blank.
I mean, Joe. I mean, the first part of that verse strikes me as untrue, and the second part seems to be, I mean, merely an assertion without a prediction, right? There's no. I mean, we don't know who's chosen and who's not, and so I mean, he's saying that he's chosen some and not chosen some, but I mean, that doesn't really prove, unless you know which ones are chosen. It's sort of not really talking about anything in specifics, right? Like, it seems to me like we need the context of who he was talking to in order to really understand that verse, right? And as far as, you know, all things work together for good for those who love him, I mean, that doesn't seem to be true either. But I mean that you might suggest that the people who things don't work out together for good didn't actually love him. I suppose you could say.
Well, the bigger. Oh, go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
If I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, I want to provide. Do any of you guys know who Charles Spurgeon is?
Oh yes.
Okay, so Charles Spurgeon has a famous quote that he said. He said that if the elect had a yellow E stamped on their back, I would only preach to them. But because I don't know who they are, that's the whole case for evangelism. Am I misunderstanding what you were saying?
Well, I mean,
question, but.
Well, there was sort of two questions slammed in together there. Like, I mean, the first part of that statement is clearly not true, right? I mean, things don't work together for good to those who love the Lord, right? I mean, we know that horrible things happen to good Christians all the time, right? People who genuinely love the Lord. I've seen horrible things happen to people who are very genuine in their love, right?
I think the context of that is the final result of what happens to us. I mean, like, here's the deal. Like, we're not like, I'm not saying that as a Christian I'm supposed to believe like Joel Osteen preaches and say that if I wanted my health and wealth, I'm just supposed to proclaim it over my life and it's going to happen. I mean, bad shit's going to happen.
But that is a possible interpretation of that verse, right? So I mean, when you just said, you know, how else can you interpret that? I mean, they can very validly interpret that verse exactly that way, can't they? I mean, it is sort of implied in that verse, and I'm sorry, man. I think it's sort of illegitimate to say that it's not possible to interpret the Bible differently.
Because practically it's been happening a long time. Like, in practice, it's been happening.
It is possible.
Right, and I think
Well, to misinterpret it. I just think that, I mean, in some places it's even easy to do it, but I think there's some passages that are pretty point blank, like cut clear.
Yeah, I would agree, sort of agree with Joe here. I don't think that Paul would have been saying that you're going to have temporal pleasures, you know, that the style that Joel Osteen would preach. that would make you happy in this world. I don't think Paul had that in mind when he said all things work together for good. I think he is saying that in the long run, in the eternal life after the fact, you're going to see the benefits of everything you've been through. Yeah, I think Joseph might be right in this point. But you're absolutely right that the passage itself leaves it open for interpretation of any manner of things. Right? You can pull from it whatever you want it to mean.
Yeah, I mean, God can technically know who the elect are because He's already knows at the end of time who is, because time isn't really a concept for Him. He lives outside of it.
Right. I mean, there's sort of this weird thing, right? Like, I mean, it's like all things work together for good, right? I mean, to those who love the Lord. I mean, Joey, I mean, you said you interpret that as, well, I mean, even if things don't work out well in your life, you're going to eventually receive eternal reward for it in the afterlife, right? And I mean, that's sort of how you justify it, right? Like,
yeah, I think that's the original content. Yeah.
Sure, and I mean, but it doesn't that. I mean, isn't that sort of a bleak outlook of the future at that point? Like, I mean, that's a sort of strange way of looking at it, isn't it? Like, I mean, what would be the point of even hanging around in life then? As soon as something gets hard, why wouldn't you just give up? Like, I don't understand, right? I mean, if all things work together for good, those who love the Lord, well, I mean, heaven is the ultimate reward, right? I mean, you can't expect anything good as far as your life goes. God doesn't promise you that. So
no, He doesn't.
So you.
Well, the whole idea is to teach you to persevere in the long run and to go through all the hardships of your life and to never give up the faith for any reason, right? That's the whole idea. So it is actually as bleak as you were pointing it out to be, John. That's as far as I can tell, that's the original context of that verse. Now there are verses in the Gospels that contradict that, right, in some way or another, because the Gospels seem to paint the picture of we're all going to be out of here pretty damn soon, but Paul doesn't. Paul generally does say that, but not all the time. And in Romans, he seems to paint a picture of, hey, Christ might not return as soon as you thought he would, but hey, just stick the course anyway. We're gonna do our best. And I think it is a very, very bleak view of life, and that's where we get our whole Protestant work ethic from. Is from this kind of attitude that everything in life, everything you experience in the real world is fucked up beyond belief, and only once it's all over are you going to reap the rewards.
All right, Elijah. Well, you convinced me. Where do I sign up for Christianity?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, that's an odd.
Good Calvinist one.
Right, and I mean, I don't know. There's sort of this weird. I always have this weird question about if your theology, Joe. I mean, if someone was to show you something in the Bible that totally you had been misinterpreting all along. I mean, would you switch sects really easily? I mean, because I know there was a lot of hesitation in my church about switching sects. It seemed like certain ones you could switch to, but other ones would be out of the question, right? Like there was almost like a taboo. And I wonder if that sort of attitude's been bred into you as well. Like, I mean, is that why you're sort of so anti-Mormon or anti-Roman Catholic? Is it the idea of is it certain theologies that sort of you have a problem with, and like do you know why you have a problem with it? Would be my second question.
Well, yeah, I know why I have a problem with Catholicism, let's say, and that kind of bridges my problem with Roman Catholicism or with Mormonism too, and I'll tell you what it is. In the Catholic Church, I was raised in the Catholic Church, and I began to see some inconsistencies of things, and I began to question ways that they interpreted scriptures, and automatically, it wasn't that maybe their interpretation was wrong or anything. It's I was wrong, and I got excommunicated. I got thrown out of the church. just for questioning, for trying to learn things, for trying to, look at things in a different light and say, oh, maybe the church doesn't have this right. Maybe we're not teaching the right thing, and maybe we need to go back and look at it. And rather than looking at it, the answer was, you are an apostate, and we're going to throw you out. And Mormonism behaves the same way. The minute you question something in Mormonism, like I have a friend of mine, he's a Mormon, and he doesn't want to be a Mormon, but he's afraid that once he confesses that he's doubting some of the teachings, that he's going to lose his family. And I think it's a pretty messed up thing to have to fear. I think it's a pretty messed up thing to fear that, any honest church or any honest pastor shouldn't mind somebody asking questions. And if they're going to threaten you that you're going to lose your family over it, that's...
Well, but don't you find... don't you find similar pressures in your own church experience? I know I did. I found similar things. As soon as I felt like I was questioning things, they were very quick to, either to actively squash it or ostracize me. So it seemed like, I don't think that's an uncommon thing in religion itself. Much more common than maybe you're making it out to be. I think if you were to question your faith, your faith community might have a problem with you, Joe.
I think some of the people in my church would, but one of the things my pastor teaches is that you should always doubt your faith. You should always question it, and that's why I'm not like most of my people in my church. You have. You'll see our section of Christian books, and then right next to them you'll see other religions, you'll see atheism, you'll see stuff like that too. In my church, we're actually taught to question our faith, not to try to disprove it, but to question it in the mind of.
Well, Joe, if that's the case, how come your pastor showed up yesterday and tried to poison the well with the Richard Dawkins book?
Because he's read that book before, and he, those are the arguments that he really thinks of it. He's read it before.
So he wants you to question your faith, but not question it in that way.
He wants. It's getting weird, Joe.
Logical arguments.
Right.
And then what exactly, do all of your faiths line up exactly with your pastors? Like, do you go to the same church as your pastor? And are you guys totally in agreement?
No, we're not totally in agreement. No.
Do you go to the same church?
Yeah, he's my pastor. Well, no, he's out in California now, but we go to the same body of churches, so it's still the same church.
So, do you used to go to his church and you don't anymore?
I haven't had time to.
Did you ever go to his church?
Yes. I sat under his teachings for almost 2 years.
Okay, and so do you agree with his positions or not?
There's certain things that we don't agree on.
So he's a liar.
No, I wouldn't say that. If he intentionally misrepresented something, then I would. He went through. What's up? Okay. He went through. I'm gonna have to head off in a minute because I have a 58-year-old child who's been drinking who needs me to babysit her. What was I saying? I don't remember.
Did you know that Violet Jackson is actually Chelsea Brummett from Nickelodeon Kids?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I think I had a crush on her growing up.
I'm gonna have to head off here.
Well, some of her, and then there's one picture of her where she turned Greek for a while. But
Hey guys, I'm gonna have to head off here. Sorry I had to cut it short, but hey John, when you post this, let me know because I'd be like, I want to watch it.
Sure. I'll tell you what. I'll send you the link right away, man. As soon as it's posted.
thanks for showing up, man. I can tell you were super scared, but I'm glad you showed up anyway.
All right, man. I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah. Thanks, Joseph. Thanks a lot. See you soon.
Peace and love, bud.
All right, bye-bye.
See you, man.
Praise be to Yahweh. Is that what you say? I don't know.
That's what they say. What you eating, Alex?
Praise be to Jehovah, for he is good.
They kind of lost me at Genesis 1. Was kind of where I started to think that the whole thing might be total bullshit.
Oh, that looks delicious.
Bursting onion.
If I was the editor for the Bible, I would move Genesis 1 way, way, way to the back.
No, you hide it in the middle. Put it right next to
Yeah,
Nahum.
The middle's more inconspicuous. Some people might get smart and skip to the back, but
I always skip to the back.
it's pretty disappointing as far as an explanation to the nature of the universe and the meaning of life and everything. But yeah, I don't know, Chelsea Brummett seems like a nice girl.
Is that one of David's sock accounts or somebody else?
It's Violet Jackson. Well, one of her pictures is Chelsea Brummett, but then the very next picture is clearly a completely different girl. I can't remember if we got a match on her. I was just kind of clicking away because you guys are talking about the Bible and shit. Fucking who cares about that? I don't know.
Who cares about the Bible and shit?
Not me, man. That's why we let you in. It's your job.
Yeah, it's my job to deal with those issues, right?
You play bass and you talk about the Bible.
I need something to do in life, right?
Sometimes you even support your own position, which is refreshing, but it doesn't happen very often.
Not at all.
That's what I hate about you is you like pretend not to know when I'm insulting you.
No, what? Were you insulting me? I'm sorry. I totally was oblivious for that.
You did it again.
I don't know. That was an interesting conversation. I
think it went pretty well.
Well, yeah, maybe. We'll see. I'd prefer to talk to Joe or Dr. Dave about this. I'm sort of eager to hear what sort of explanation, and I don't know. I trust Joe as far as I don't know his opinion of Dave maybe, but the whole thing seems to be just such a huge network. I'm really worried about I don't know, him being involved in something that maybe he doesn't even realize. But maybe that's just me being a little more paranoid than I need to be.
Who being involved in something they don't realize, Dave or Joe?
Joe is what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm worried about both of them.
Like 2010.
The what, dude?
What?
Like, as I'm on Violet Jackson, who is apparently somebody else, but like, she's got comments and posts and like from like 2010.
Yeah, it's ongoing, right? Like, I mean, if it hasn't been called already, it's surprising that it's surprising that it hasn't been called already, right? Like, I'm really surprised that no one else has picked up on it. So, I don't know.
If you just scroll up, she's from Colorado Springs. That's before he even went there. Child psychology, which Dave probably wishes he could do. But if you go up through the pictures, you can see like it's different girls all the way up. Like it's not even the same person. Like, you know,
Oh yeah, the first and second.
it just changes.
No, those are two different noses.
Yeah, it just
Humans are really, really good at doing this.
which doesn't. But like, I don't see anything in this account that precisely links her to Dave, except for the connection to Colorado Springs. But, you know, recent activity, now friends with I Am Woo,
Friends with her,
which
Sean?
is Dave. What?
Of course, I'm friends with her.
And then the exact same network of friends, all the same sock puppets. It's the weight of the circumstantial evidence is astounding, right? Like,
But I don't think it mattered. Like 2 socks would have been sufficient.
Jew and Gentile in Christ. What? Yeah.
No, but I mean, like even David's response saying, "I don't know about the other ones and the ones on the timeline." Yeah, well, the other ones are sufficient
Mm-hmm.
to make you raise an eyebrow and kind of be convinced about it.
Well, that's what I was trying to bring up, right? I mean, even if you had suspicions about half of the accounts, I mean, you were seeing active conversations with clear sock accounts, like between each other. Like if at that point you didn't find it odd or start to scale back your involvement with those sock accounts, like you got to ask, like, who were you trying to fool, right? Were you trying to keep David on the hook, or were you trying to play along with it, or are you trying to fool everybody else? You know, is it a game to see how many other people can be dragged into it?
You're saying on David's side or Joe's side?
Well, I mean, the way I always envisioned it was sort of a tag team move, but the way Joe describes it, I mean, if he's caught unawares and I trust him, I think that's that it does seem like it's more on Dave's side.
Yeah, I don't.
I was worried about Joe. I was legitimately concerned that Joe's whole world was going to crumble to pieces, and that's why I sat on those videos for a month or longer, and then it would appear that Joe was not unawares, and so, I'm glad that Joe wasn't completely victimized, but I'm a little disappointed that Joe went along with it.
How would you react if I don't know? I don't know.
I would block them all, and I would tell everybody that I knew that was friended by them to block them, and
No, but I mean, a good friend.
I would be fucking apologizing like crazy. I'd be like, holy fuck, Alex. It turns out that John and Owen and fucking that Elijah dude were all just fucking J.D. Wiley. And he can't be trusted. You need to delete him. And if I find out about any more of his sock accounts, I'll let you know. And I'm just super sorry that, I was a part of.
Thing is, for me to start, it is, my interest in this was actually a bit more. I would have liked to see this. It was a bit of curiosity. And a little bit academic, but I'm giving too much credit to that. But I'm then actually talking with Joe and seeing his reaction. I'm actually concerned for him, and I don't really know him.
Concerned for Joe or Dave?
Pardon me?
Concerned for Joe or Dave?
Joe.
Joe's fine.
Well,
I'm actually more concerned for Dave after talking to Joe. Like I'm a little disappointed in Joe. But, Joe's defense was that, I don't want Dave to hurt himself. And, I don't put any credence in that. Like, ultimately suicide is a really selfish act, right? And if there's anything we can do to prevent Dave from committing suicide, I would like to do that, and I would like Joe to do that, but going along with this intricate web of dishonesty and delusional role playing, it's just not the way to do it. Like I mean, I like the whole thing's disturbing. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't have the endurance to do what he does.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just one account is hard enough for me to manage. I don't know how to manage this.
It's occurred to me too. It's like, oh, well, why don't I start my own sock puppet and friend his sock puppet? And it's like, no, like I couldn't even begin to fathom actually doing that. Like, no.
Because then you have to wonder about times and then their schedule, and I mean, this is pretty mapped out. Like, if you had the ability to go through all the comments and mark all the comments down, the times that they were posted and the discussions that happened, you can create a pattern of work schedules, assumptions. Were they mobile? Were they, taking the bathroom?
Are they brother and sister? Are they married? Oh, we just got married. I got to remember that. I just married myself.
Yeah.
Oh, we're broken up now.
Yeah, I mean, the adding the drama in it is just, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, that's just, you're writing storylines and plot and, I mean, family dramas and...
Which is fun in The Sims.
Yeah.
That's why they made video
I don't really
games.
do it that much, but I don't really do the big fancy stories. I just like to see stuff happen. But, I should get more involved in The Sims.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Like, I thought about it like, okay, well, as an investigator, it would make sense to create my own profiles, but immediately, like, less than a second later, I realized that that's just not even something I would even consider doing. Like, no, that's not me. Couldn't even do that. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it sort of speaks a lot to, I don't know, maybe Dave's perseverance. I mean, it's clearly he's putting in a lot of work, or was, anyways.
where did Elijah go for a haircut? Or
No, I doubt it.
as soon as everyone stopped talking about the Bible, he's out of here.
It'd be nice to E-man.
E-man. If he was a guitar player, I would respect him, but he's clearly not.
Ouch. It's rude. I mean, the second thing I wanted to bring up with Joe, and I mean, we sort of, I tried to bring it back around there. I mean, but this accusation of dishonesty in conversation, right? I mean, it seems to me like a red herring, and they brought it up so often that like I'm almost certain it is, right?
It's projection.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they're rushing to make the accusation so that their dishonesty is going to seem, I don't know, milder in comparison.
Yeah. Or it's like a form of going nuclear, where you say, oh well, everyone's dishonest, so how are you going to call us out on being dishonest when you and John are dishonest? So everyone's dishonest. Joe always goes back to that original sin, right? That's his big get out of jail free card. Oh well, everybody is bad and depraved and wants to do bad things. Like, and then I always say, oh no.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it's almost like a precept tactic, right? Like a Psi-10 tactic, where you almost rush to make the accusation, and that way, when the person tells you, like, well, that's exactly what you're doing, and then it's like, well, no, you're just being a hypocrite. Tu quo, fallacy.
Yeah, even though they're actually committing the tu quo themselves.
Right, exactly.
not
Well,
us.
that's the thing is if you rush to the accusation, the tuquo actually flips. Well, makes it look like it flips around, right?
Yep. Yep. I think that went pretty well, though, all things considered.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh,
Joe seems like a nice guy. He needs
Yeah.
to work on his atheism, but one day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if he's the first guy that I would draft to my team, but I think he's a super nice guy. But he might be more potent as a Christian as far as spreading atheism.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't know. It's. I mean, he's a really nice dude, and I think it's surprising when he comes out with some really horrible statements, right? I mean, where I know in some of those videos where he was admitting that his views were morally wrong. He was admitting he was wrong, but that he would still support it. That was the weirdest discussion you had with him there.
Oh,
The
I think
Joe-
I remember seeing.
The Joe Roman dialogues.
Yeah, they are pretty eye opening, right? And I really like Joe, and so it's always interesting to see. Yeah, just how it just strikes me as odd how nice people can have their niceness channeled into such horrible ways, right? I mean, that somehow they can justify the most heinous of positions, even though in their mind they know that it's wrong, that they that kind of boggles me a little bit, right?
And then the stuff you really don't want to be wrong is wrong.
Yeah.
That's why I told him, like, I think he's better than his religion, right? Like, he's a nice guy that's justifying his shortcomings with his religion and justifying the shortcomings of his friends with his religion. Like, remove the religion, and he's a way nicer guy.
Chris, when you said that, I don't know what happened, but I thought that was one of the coolest things you've ever said. I thought, like, that was just, like, genuine and honest, for a filthy fucking atheist.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I
seriously.
thought that was, like, yeah.
I'm sure I heard that on the Atheist Experience. I'm sure that's where I borrowed it from.
No, but I even okay, sure, I agree. I mean, I think Joe is better than religion, but I think that's that's what strikes me as weird when he drags it to objective morality, right? He agrees what he's doing is objectively wrong. That's sort of what boggles my mind, right? Is that he can't really use the definition of objective properly in that sense. And so I mean he's having such a hard time fitting his idea of objective morality into what he views as being good in life. And I don't know, I just kind of feel for the guy. It's got to be hard to be good in that framework.
It's funny that you say that because I've been thinking about that for the last couple of days, where during the Joe Roman dialogues, I allowed the term objective to hold so many meanings and in so many different categories that I was left wondering, like, what I was even talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
I was trying to be flexible with it, but we were all over the map with objective there.
Exactly. I mean, you don't want to get bogged down in definitions, but something like that where you're talking about the pure ideal of a conception, right? Where it's so beyond your perception of things. When you start talking about objective morality, you're talking about morality when you can view everything. When you have knowledge of every aspect and possibilities. That's what you're talking about with objective morality. With perfect knowledge, what would I choose? And so that's it's sort of this weird, like, I mean, when you say objective morality, you presuppose this weird supernatural ability, but they never.
That's not what it means to me, though. Like,
yeah.
To me, objective morality means like morality is, objectively exists, whether you anthropomorphize it as a god or not, right? And that's the kind of precept thing is, oh, do you believe in objective truth, right? They're saying like, do you believe like truth is a thing that exists, right? So, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways. I mean, that's where these things always break down, is everyone has their own idea of objective morality. Sam Harris has a different view, and like there's one way that I can say that I believe in objective morality, and there's a way that I can say that I believe in subjective morality, and really I believe in both, right? Like I believe that my subjective morality is based on objective facts, but I don't think that those objective facts exist in the ether or are held by a human being. Or not a human being, but held by a supernatural being. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, those were great conversations, though, Chris. Those are awesome. So. Yeah, I mean,
I should be getting to bed because it's almost 2 a.m. and I'm gonna have a bad day tomorrow.
I hear you. Well, thanks for hanging out there, Alex. It was awesome, man.
Yeah, a lot of fun, guys. Have a good night.
Totally, you too, bud. Peace. So, Chris, I mean, like, I feel pretty good about the conversation. I hope that if Joe watches this later, and I'm gonna send him the link for sure, and he's welcome to do whatever he feels like with this video. But the point is that it's I feel like I want Joe to know that we're not coming at this from we're not trying to be cruel or unusual in our attempt, right? I mean, I think that we are sort of being careful and walking a little bit on tiptoes in this case, and we're not exactly just rushing in. I don't feel that at all, right? So.
Yep. I mean, I agree. Like where I would love to see this go is, I'd love to talk to Dave. I'd love to talk to Joe. I'd like to get this all out in the open, and we can all move forward from here.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I think we can just all use this as a learning opportunity, right? About the real meaning of honest dialogue and how we approach each other, right? And I think for some people it will be a harder lesson to learn, but I don't know. I think it's a valuable one that we could all take something out of.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear too, like my motivation in catfishgate is not a dislike for David. What motivated me was a mystery, and I was intrigued, and then I was compelled by Joe being a part of the mystery, and I was legitimately compelled for Joe, and that's what kind of kept me digging into the mystery. But at the end of the day, I would like for Dave and Joe to both be as happy and healthy as possible. I don't support the views that Dave's been putting forth, but that doesn't mean that I wish him any harm. I think a lot of his positions are disgusting and silly, but that's something we can talk about. I hope when he gets off the Greyhound that things take a turn for the better if he's really on the Greyhound.
Definitely. I mean, we wish him the best, but I wish him, the best in honesty. I wish him the best in a truly happy life, not a fantasy land, right? So.
Yeah, I'm not gonna play along with anything.
Right. Exactly. I'm nobody's fool.
Okay. Well, but
no fool. Yeah. Good. So let's call it a night.
Yeah.
This has been
This
fun.
camera view is so fucking unflattering. Like, it makes me look like I'm dead and fucking clammy and super fat. When I was in my living room there with the fan on,
Yeah,
it's
it was
like,
nice.
oh, look at his hair. And then I come in here and it's like, ooh.
There's some nice
Look at
dynamic
his-
lighting going on there, but yeah, now you're looking a
Ooh.
little zombie-like.
Look at Chris's belly. It looks so bad when he's in his computer chair.
Cool. Excellent.
Okay,
Well, it goes really well. Yeah, thanks, bud. We'll talk to it. I'm gonna stop the broadcast now, but say
Okay,
goodbye
thanks.
to the internet. See you, dude.